Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Welcome to Louisville Sessions. You've just witnessed the artistic collaboration between Yunier Ramirez and Gabriel Walker. Wow, absolutely stunning. Thank you so much. Before we dive in, I just wanted to begin by offering that Actors Theater of Louisville sits on the unceded territory of many Indigenous communities, including the Shawnee, the Eastern Band of the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, and Osage people, and also to lift up the collective struggle and alignment between Indigenous, Black, and Brown people, and acknowledge the labor and lives lost that have made our current society possible. I'm Emilio Costa Powell. I serve as the impact producer here at Actors Theater of Louisville, and I'm honored to be here with you today, Yunier and Gabriel. Welcome. Thank you.
Oh, it's an honor.
It's an honor to me.
Well, can we just start with introducing yourselves? I would love for our audiences to learn more about who you are, your artistry, and we're going to dive into a lot of different questions about the piece. But why don't we kick off with you, Gabriel? Will you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Gabriel Walker. I have been in Louisville for about 7 years. Came here from Denver, and my background is actually, my graduate work was in theater, not music, and that's helped me a lot. I like working across different disciplines. So I like working with photographers, video makers, writers, poets, dancers, anything really. Anything other than just straight ahead being in a band making music, which I like, but I like this other stuff a little more.
Excellent. Yunier?
Okay, my name is Yunier Ramirez, and I've been here for in United States for 5 years now. My background is kind of my very first background is in accounting, but because of my vocation, I changed to history and arts, and that's what I most of the time made in Cuba. I was teaching in the university history, and then I start collaborating with different kind of artists and start making like photography and videography. And since I came here, I continue like doing this kind of stuff and trying to make like activism, talking about and telling stories about refugees, and because I'm a refugee, and talking about all that kind of stories.
Beautiful. Thank you. For anyone who may be joining for the first time, Louisville Sessions is a program of Actors Theater of Louisville working with Kentucky musicians to celebrate the vast sound, feel, and artistry of Kentucky's dynamic music scene. And each session features an artist responding to this moment through an original video. And this piece that you've just shared, Lost Boys, is really unique for the series. And we were just speaking before we went live about how thrilled we are, and I am, to have this opportunity to really bust open the idea of what these sessions can be and what a musical offering for our moment might look like. Can you talk a little bit about the intention and inspiration behind Lost Boys and your creative partnership on it?
Yeah, Yunier, you should take that one.
Okay. First, when I hear about Lost Boys when I was like studying like history and because of a couple of documentary. But when I came here and I went to Kentucky Refugee Ministries, I started having like contact with people from other countries and and I was hearing like that stories. And I mean, in my case, I'm Cuban, and in some point, Cuban refugees, we think we are like the people who have more struggle in the world, and some point. But when you listen and when you hear that stories of other people who came to this country and who spent, I don't know, half of their life trying to survive, and they lost families, and that you understand that you have to talk about them, not like you have to make one space and talk about those people who have that light, and they lost the entire family, and they lost everything. And in my point, that stories are like more important to me, and I have like it was like my inspiration to talk about them. And it's just the beginning, because uh, it's the inspiration to talk more about them, because I mean, since we are talking, I'm always like listening more people, having meeting with all people from other countries, and with a couple of guys who are like part of the Lost Boys. And it's incredible how how uh, close you can feel that their stories is your own story when you hear that. And 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 it's something that we have to tell to the rest of the world, that people who are here, they could be like your co-workers, your neighbors, and they have that kind of past. So people have to know that we are people with that story living with us, being part of the community. So we have to know, we have to tell the rest of the people, the rest of the city, that we have that kind of history, being part of the community, the city.
Well, that's to dovetail onto that. Um, when you look at all the people who have all this different experience, and they bring that experience to the table. This is so when you look at a city, I mean, we mentioned it in the video, but you look at a city, it's like a library, and all these people are volumes of human experience. And so Daniel, who is the gentleman in the video, what does he bring to the table that we simply don't know because we don't have that experience? I cannot know what he's been through. I can find things in my own experience that will help me to at least empathize, but I need his wisdom and the wisdom of everybody else that's coming to the table. And I think that's the strength of a city. That's what makes a city strong. That's also what makes a city very interesting. It'd be kind of boring if that wasn't there, to be honest.
Absolutely. And what a beautiful expression to lift up that the ability to find that coalition through art. I think that's it, it's a way to key into that empathy and those elements of shared stories, as well as those learnings of new experiences that we don't share in a more visceral way sometimes than reading it in a book or hearing it in a text. So
Well, there's also something about the arts where it's almost like a big social club. I mean, Yunier probably has the same experience, but in traveling, and doesn't matter what country you're in, you mentioned it's like, I'm a musician. It's like, boom, you're in the club. If you're a painter, a dancer, whatever, you're in the club. So it's much easier, I think, for artists to ignore, the boundaries and borders and all that.
absolutely. Gabriel, I'd love to learn more about your process. Your work as a musician has a lot of variety. I know that you've worked on theatrical pieces, installations, underscoring. How do you approach underscoring a piece, and specifically Lost Boys?
It kind of depends. Like, I've worked across multiple art forms, and it's a little bit different with each one. So if it's I struggle to process visual information. My brain just doesn't process it. So I rely a lot on synesthesia if I have to work with two-dimensional images, like a painting or photograph. Um, I mean, I scored a bunch of paintings for Margaret Archambault over at Faulkner Gallery, but it was easy because her work is, aside from being absolutely brilliant, from a standpoint of being synesthetic, her work is really loud. You know, I can hear it, I can smell it, I can taste it, I can feel it, I can work that way. Now, that's very different than if I'm working with, say, a poet, because my background is theater. I think more like a director, and the way more of a director would give notes. And for anybody listening who doesn't know what that means, basically, a director gives notes to an actor during rehearsals. Notes would be directions on how to, you know, maybe you can say this line differently or turn your body a certain way, just performance notes. I do that with writers. And then once we get a good recording of it, they're in my ears. I mean, they're right here. And that's incredibly intimate. I'm not doing this from a distance. I'm doing it with them inside of me. And then the whole point is to, if you think of like pointillism painting, I'm sorry, I know this sounds terribly pretentious, but I really think this way. There's a primary color, then you wrap a color around it, and if you step back, you get a third color. You get a third stream idea. It's always that third stream thing. I'm always in service to painting around or sculpting around the voice so that it pops. And as far as this piece goes, this is actually the second iteration of this video. So in scoring this one, Yunier and I talked about there's certain sounds that he liked from the original video. I got a little hung up because I kept hearing the old score in my head. So I walked away, went to YouTube, and just started listening to Sudanese music, which is amazing. And they used the oud, which is one of my favorite instruments, and that gave me my in.
Very cool. I'm going to skip ahead just for a moment and we'll come back to some of the other questions on this list. But because you had both mentioned, Gabriel, you mentioned scoring to visual art, and Yunier mentioned the kind of the future step and how this is the first part of this journey. I do believe there's an upcoming gallery exhibition as well, and I'd love to open the door to hear a little bit more about that.
Okay, we're working on a project. We're gonna have that exhibition on Tim Faulkner Gallery. I mean, they are in the moving process now, and that, so we are not sure about the date, but we think it's gonna be in November. But basically, our exhibition is gonna be about people who live in the edge. People who have kind of struggles and that to being part of the society, and how the society, like, you know, sometimes exclude people who are like different, and we are going to be including pictures and some kind of installation, because we're like basically using objects who remind their own stories, and we're gonna be using costumes too. We're gonna try to make some the kind of immersive exhibition. Gabriel and I, we are obsessed with that kind of exhibition, and we're gonna be using music all around the place so people can walk and go. Like, you know, it's gonna be like a line from one to other one, and we are like now we're making interviews with people who you know, we wants to be part of the project, and of course they have to be agree with being part of, you know, and these, and we're working on it. We are really excited about it because it's like it's the way we have to, you know, tell everybody who, you know, we are here, we are part of the society. You have to see us. You maybe sometimes you can know us, but you have to. So we're here, and and that's what we are trying to do.
Well, there's something else too about there's a certain amount of dignity that people are denied when they live on the fringes. And so the idea, when Yunier, he originally approached me with this idea, and I thought, oh, this is brilliant. And we were both absolutely in an agreement that it's about creating an installation that shows the dignity of people, the wisdom of people, the humanity of people. Quite often you'll see things similar to what we're describing, but it's the oh, woe is me, poor person, aren't they so sad? And that's condescending. There are people who are forced to the fringes, but again, they're sitting on a body of wisdom that if you've never been where they are, you don't know. So we want to give them a very dignified installation.
That's beautiful. I'd love to go back to the roots of your partnership. Can you tell us how you two started working together?
Yunier, can I take this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was at Kentucky Refugee Ministries with a friend of mine. His name is Priam Parker. He's a local portrait painter. And so PJ and I were at Kentucky Refugee Ministries with a bunch of other artists working on a project with them. And this guy walks up to me and says, hey, I've got a bunch of photographs. Will you put some music to them? Yeah, send them to me. So he sent them to me. I opened up the link and my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my God, I'm not touching these because I'll ruin them. And then I call Priyan over. He looks at him. He does the same thing. His jaw drops. He goes, oh my God, this guy's brilliant. So I reached out to Yunier and said, I'm not touching your photographs. He said, well, you look at a video. And the video that he sent was the original iteration of the one you just saw. And again, my jaw dropped at that. Oh my God, I love this guy. I love his work. This is genius. And we've done several projects together now.
And what made you approach him?
I mean, we was talking. It was like a meeting with different artists, talking about. I guess it was We Create Artists. It was like it was a project from Kentucky Refugee Ministries from the War Refugee Day. It was like, I don't know, like 3 years ago, and and we was talking, and I was listening what Gabriel was saying, and the way he was saying, like, and he's like really spiritual, man, and that's all about it. So what we're doing is something like spiritual, and it's something to bring, like, peace, and bring that, and that was the reason, because I was approaching him and talk to him, and I started listening to what he was doing, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I get, like, in love of his work, and that, and I mean, we're working together for like 3 years doing different projects.
Amazing. Is there anything else either or both of you want to share about what inspires you, and especially what inspires you here in our community in Louisville?
Well, I'm inspired very much by, well, this is not part of the community, but there's a gallery in Cusco, Peru called Sapiri, which is Xapiri, and I really encourage people to look them up. And it's run by a guy named Jack Wheeler down in Peru. And Sapiri works with indigenous artists throughout, or indigenous communities throughout the Amazon. And they create artistic collaborations. And Jack is half my age. I've had conversations with him off and on over the last couple of years. At half my age, I still want to be him when I grow up, okay? He's awesome. I would love to do something like that here, or to make collaborations between Louisville and Cusco and Cuba. And Yunier and I have talked about this many times, making these collaborations globally and keep it all rooted here. The other thing that inspires me is I love sort of what's happening in the symphonic world right now. It's exploding with creativity, and women are dominating it, which is even more satisfying. They had been pushed out for so long. And the Louisville Orchestra, Teddy Abrams, he's got no problem putting out some of this 21st century new music. So I'm really in awe of him too for having the courage to put it out there.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that what we have to offer here in Louisville that speaks to the global conversation and vice versa is really exciting and inspiring to me too. Everything from, the important news yesterday about this horrific murder of Breonna Taylor that took place in our community, but the 2 years late decision of justice that we heard yesterday that has ramifications for the entire world, right? It's just one example. And I think the work that you're showcasing in this session with Lost Boys has the same effect. It's a very local story and it's a global story.
That's really it. It is local and it is global. And those two things are not mutually exclusive the way they used to be. We don't have the luxury of not thinking globally from wherever we're standing. There's what's the statement? Any point on a sphere is the center. Mm. So if we're standing in Louisville, this really is the center of the globe for us as artists anyway.
Beautiful. So if people want to learn more about your work or support your work, where can we find you? Your photography, your video, your music, where can we find your work?
Probably the easiest thing you can do, if you go to fromtheancestors.com, that's fromtheancestors.com, you'll find Yunier and I collaborated with Ron Whitehead. And we got a bunch of writers from all over the world. There's multiple languages. There's everything from shamans to poets, activists. And you'll get a really good sense of the music that we're doing. And the other part of that is you can leave an email there. So if you want to reach me or Yunier or any of the artists that were involved in that project, From the Ancestors, drop an email there. Yunier, you have your own website, don't you?
Yeah, I have my own website. I mean, it's like my commercial website because I'm freelance photographer too, so we make all that kind of pictures. But you can find like my artistic pictures over there too, and it's like rcstudio80.com. And it's the same on Instagram and Facebook. I have the same. My Instagram is more like artistic, and it's like RC Studio 80s, and you can find all that kind of pictures and videos that we make with in collaboration with, especially with Ron Whitehead in the last times, because I'm making like when he's recording in a studio or something like that, I always make like a small clips of what he's doing, and I always post that on my Instagram.
Excellent. Well, I imagine that even just looking at the gorgeous photos behind you, people need to go check out the rest of your work. Excellent. I'd love to also hear about if there are other artists and musicians in Kentucky who you think that we should feature on Louisville Sessions, or just who excite and inspire you, people that anyone viewing this might want to know about. Who's exciting, and doesn't have to be in Louisville, who's exciting in our region?
First thing that pops into my head, there's a singer-songwriter here in town called Sherry Streeter, who I mean, she's a friend, but she's the person I turn to when I want to talk about song structure or lyrics. She's a stunning lyricist. It is amazing what she does. And we've actually worked with her before. She's done some voiceover work with us, and her voiceover work is gorgeous. She'd be a great one to talk to. She just released a new record that's actually pretty stunning.
Yeah, I would like to mention like Purion Parker too. We call him PJ, and he's a really great painter, and really great artist, and we collaborate several times in different projects. Uh, the way he expressed his art is kind of different and stunning. If and as the kind of artist that whatever you have in your mind, you always want to include him and collaborate with him.
Absolutely, he's amazing. His work is gorgeous. There's also a really intimate quality, a really warm human quality to his work that really sucks you in. And I guess the only other person, and I'm sure we're on the same page with this, is Ron Whitehead. Uh, he is a phenomenon. There's no other way to describe it. He is a phenomenon, and he is a Kentucky boy. So he's someone that if you don't know who he is, he's also the Beat Poet Laureate of the United States. So, and he's local.
And you can spend hours with Ron Whitehead just listening, all his stories. And it's like, I mean, he's an inspiration by himself, because wherever you are, like, just listening when he said, you have a lot of ideas of things you can do, and, like, artistic products you can do. And he have something that I really admire, that he always tries to include young people and people who are like not like well known in the arts. He always tried to bring him and include them on different projects, and that happened to me. So I was like a newcomer in the city, and nobody knows me, nobody knows my art. Because I came from Cuba, I was not good with the social media, uh, and because we don't have internet over there, and he just help us to being part of different projects, and he always give you like credit or whatever, like you do. He always like introducing people, and talking with people. Like, so you have to know this guy, you have to see what he's doing, and that's something I really admire from him.
Yeah, ditto, exactly same.
That's one of the things that I've enjoyed the most. I've moved to Louisville only about 9 months ago, and I think the generosity of spirit with which the artistic community reaches out to each other and includes each other is something really beautiful about our space.
I have to ask, where'd you move from?
Well, I moved most recently from St. Louis, but I'm originally from Denver. So when you said that, I got very excited.
Oh, right on. You're originally from Denver?
Yep.
Oh, I love it. You made me very happy.
We'll have to offline connect more about that.
Amen.
Is there anything else? We're gonna share the video again. If you've joined us in the last 30 minutes, don't worry, you're gonna get to see this beautiful session. And even if you saw it at the beginning, I know you want to watch it again. But before we go into the video, is there anything else the two of you want to share?
Just a lot of gratitude. Thank you. What Actors Theater is doing right now, and taking a very active role in the community and bringing in diverse voices, I have no words to describe to you how satisfying that is, how lovely that is. And to be included in that, really grateful to you.
Yeah, same to me. I'm really glad to that you gave us the opportunity to share what we are doing, and especially we are doing this, not in like, I mean, I don't care about like that people about what people think if I am like an artist or a genius or something like that. I'm just trying to do what I'm good to do, trying to tell stories and trying to share other stories that I think is like really important. Is like and people have to deserve to know what's happening with persons and communities, and I'm really glad, and I'm really honored to be part of this show, and thank you so much.
Thank you both. We're so grateful to you, and it's beautiful to hear you speak about the mission and the passion behind the work, and the lack of ego. But it's important to me that people know that you are geniuses, because your artistic work is genius, but also because that mission that you're speaking from, that is so important. And I think that's what we're all here to do. So thank you again. Thank you for your artistry. Thank you for having this conversation.
Thank you.
And everyone, please enjoy Lost Boys.
you.